Morning, everyone. I'd like to call this Board of Supervisor meeting. The date is January 13, and getting back with my standard, it's 9:03 a.m., starting late as usual. I'm going to ask everyone to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and then remain standing for an invocation from Marvin Jacobo from City Ministry Networks. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please pray with me. Lord, thank you that you've called us together in this incredible place, incredible country, city, county, state. And Lord, just like so many of us, there's things to face, things to challenge, things to fix, things we address and say we just don't know yet. Thank you that you will give us wisdom, these men and women who lead us and represent us, to give them wisdom to govern amid all the conflicting interests and issues of our times and communities, their ability to work together in harmony, even as there's honest disagreement, the courage to lead as they ought. And Lord, may they continue to view all of our citizens with dignity and respect. And those of us as citizens who are in the audience, may you continue to align us all together to move our county toward the dream that you had for us, that our community, our county would be a good place to grow up in and to grow old in for everyone, for everyone. In my Lord's name I pray, amen. Thank you so much, gentlemen.
Thank you very much, Marvin. Okay, we're going to move on to item 3, which is a public comment period. We do not have any written comments, but the public comment is a time for those in attendance to speak on items not already on today's agenda. Please state your name for the record, direct all comments toward the dais, and so it is fair for every speaker, keep your public comments to the 5-minute time limit. The only card I have is Brian Evett.
Dakota. Here I'm today is basically, this is 2026. This is the date of the AI, where we can analyze stuff. It can make reports. In 2036, we have quantum. We will go way beyond that. We won't need attorneys. We won't need lawyers. We don't need a $4 million courthouse anymore, but we put our money into that, and it's really sad to see in 10 years that it's really almost obsolete. Even right now, for our officers and everything that are out there on the streets, they're all recorded. It can turn around and tell the scenario, what's going on right then, so they can make their decisions. That way there's not a biased decision made in this. And we need to understand that this is coming really fast, and everybody should know that we're going to be eliminating that, we're going to be saving money, and we're going to be losing a lot of labor. That's true, but we have to have resources to move that labor to another position. And this is what we're going to have to start with. Now, all I want to say is I've been through stuff, and I've been through the jail, and I've watched the suits and everything that happened to our jail. We lose a lot of money right there. And then we're always asking for more budget for the jail and the sheriff's department. This is going to save us some money, but we have to have them start under SB 42, Safety Act. We always want to make ourselves safety. You're one that says the air we want, safe air. Well, we have valley fever that's really bad in this area. We're probably one of the top most in valley air fever, where the disease spreads, the bacteria spreads, and you'll spread it to our caregivers. If they wind up in jail and they go back to our old people, they wind up giving them MRSA. MRSA comes out of there. It's a bacterial disease. It's most of the type of people that turn around and analyze this think it's cancer. It's not cancer. It's a simple bacterial disease. We have to protect that. And releasing prisoners under 42, SAFE Act. You can't release these people at 1 o'clock on Hackett to walk across the county. You have to give them a safe place. I'm finding out that we don't even do that. Now, why, when we have all this technology that's growing so fast, we don't use it? So we lose money, we get sued, and we lose more money. Now we have to stop this. And I think we can all work together on that. That's a major factor, because all we're doing is spreading it. So we're going to build more hospitals, and you're going to sit there and say, oh, that's where 88% of our budget goes. Well, we're not protecting the people, we're contaminating the people. I mean, even when we come across the border on fungal diseases on a fruit, we stop that fruit. But do we treat humans that way? Let's stop it before it gets spread. Then we don't have to build more hospitals. Watch more people die of it that are misdiagnosed. We don't even have enough dermatologists in this area to cover the people that are being diseased by it, which is really sad. And as you can see, we keep on building more hospitals. We keep putting more of our budget into this. We've got to look smarter. In 2036, we have quantum that'll be hitting here. That's making decisions and judgments that are aired by judges all over the place and attorneys. You know, we got to change. We got to catch up. We're way behind here. Our infrastructure's way behind. We take the money from the feds and the state to build our crossroads, and we've taken it twice from them. But all our crossroads that come into our major thoroughways aren't developed. And we lose money every single time on those. We've got to start looking at this. The infrastructure needs to be done before we grab the state money and make expressways, because otherwise you just have everybody jammed up. It takes you 15 minutes to get 2 miles. I mean, is that the way we're supposed to be around here? What's wrong with our road commissioner? I mean, every time we do a job, it costs us twice as much. Most time you'd fire that contractor. You know, the same thing that's happening right here with our courthouse. It's just getting over budget. Now see, that's where AI works out really good for us. It's the beginning, but 10 more years, you're gonna have quantum. This stuff isn't gonna happen. That's all I wanna say is, let's fix this stuff, because I've been put through stuff, false arrest and everything. And with a computer, it would just sit there and say, this is what you do. You don't arrest this man. It's already made a decision. So we're gonna save money, and we're gonna save from putting people in jail that are innocent. And then we're not gonna get sued. And that's where our money winds up going. Lawyers, judges. Can we stop this? We'll have more money for our community. That's all I gotta say. That, I don't wanna run for Terry's position, but I knew he threw another guy in there, so he's ruining my statistics. Because I wanted those numbers to find out if podcasting would work.
Thank you for your comments, Brian.
Thank you for the statement.
Anyone else for public comment?
Well, good morning.
How are you?
Nathan Alonzo, your local government affairs representative for Pacific Gas and Electric. Just a quick update. On December 30th, our company put out a press release saying that we are reducing electric and gas rates for the 4th time in 2 years. A lot of the collections from some of the atmospheric rivers and different wildfire prevention investments that we've made have now rolled off of bills. So customers should see anywhere between a 3 and 5% savings. This is part of a more expanded effort on affordability. I think affordability is a term and a effort that a lot of us are hearing on many fronts, so this is no different on our end. We're looking for ways to right-size our organization, right-size our efforts, streamline contracts, and find ways to save our customers on their utility bill. So would love to come back before the board later on this year to give a more comprehensive presentation on some of our efforts and investments that we have happening here in Stan County this year, and how that work will be affecting the community. So anyway, good morning, and look forward to coming back and talking with you a bit more later this year.
Thank you, Nathan. That's good news. Anyone else for public comment? All right, seeing none, I'm going to close the public comment period. I'm going to move on to the consent calendar. Would any board members like to pull any consent items? Okay, we do have comments on B1, B3, and C2. So excluding those three, do I have a motion? Motion B Condit and T Withrow. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. So I'm going to call up Ron McMurtry. And Ron, you can comment on, first, the approval to execute the Second Amendment of the Public Works Agreement contract with Grover Landscape.
Which item number?
B2, or B3.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Ron McMurtry here. Yeah, this is item B3. I wanted to, this just made me think of financial landmines. We should always be prudent with our finances, but particularly now, there might be some belt tightening. And I'm concerned about, pardon me?
No, I'm sorry.
Oh. I'm especially concerned that there's these financial landmines, these expenses that don't go through the proper procedure, and then, oh, well, we need to do this. And Chief Hayes and I had a little bit of discussion about we do not desire to have these retroactive, approvals of funding. And so I don't know if I want to recommend, I don't know how that would be handled within the county, but I don't know if the council's office should put a memo in saying, hey, maybe as a courtesy, ask departments and sub-departments to please, anytime there's unexpected monies, to kind of run through to see if the supervisors are supposed to approve that or not. Because I was kind of concerned about that. And this one, I don't know the full hierarchy, but my impression is the Parks and Recreation kind of stuff passes through the GSA. I'm not sure if that's correct. So maybe there would have been two levels of, that somebody should have maybe caught that item. And I know there's funds for some of these things, so it's not going to be a thing. But, I don't know. Maybe we need to have just a tightening up. Anyway, I just thought, let's not have more financial landmines in these tough times. Thank you very much.
Okay, you can stay right there, because you have C2 also.
Yes.
A resolution establishing a stop sign control on Grayson Road.
Yes.
C2.
Of course. And so, of course, that had caught my attention ever since you guys had the meeting at Camp Taylor, and then exacerbated by the death of Ms. Millibrick and all the testimonials we heard a few months ago. So I'm going to repeat myself a tiny bit, but Director Lehman, I know he's probably heard me say, please coordinate with Stan RTA, because Stan the RTA, I'm recommending that they build a bus stop there so that young people who are volunteers can get there, or if you guys have a special meeting there again, we can get there. Steve and I could get there. So in order for this all to work, I know the public do not get that much feedback about design, so I have a design suggestion. I don't know if that needs to be an amendment, but just for a heads up for Director Lehman, please have the crosswalk be on the west side of the intersection, because it's going to make sense for Stan RTA to put its bus stops on the west side. And so that should be the crossing. Also, Supervisor Chance Condit's suggestion that we have some kind of a memorial. It might be more suitable to have it on a bus shelter where it's a little more prominent than on, say, right there where a stop sign is, which is not going to be a sturdy place for a suitable memorial for Ms. Millibrick. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, and I saw Dave taking copious notes back there, for sure. All right. Anyone else have comments on B3 or C2 or C3? Yeah, I should have done that. Okay, so I'm going to go back, before we take them, I'm going to go back to B1, which I just wanted to comment on because this has been in the works. It's the Sheriff's Recreation Yard Capital Project. It's been on the books for quite some time. I know there's some pretty, when you read the agenda item, there's some pretty serious cost escalations due to tariffs and other things. But this, I believe, is a requirement from the state of California, and we're kind of in front of this, but it seems to me that this is a potential mandate that is not funded. And is there any way we can put a mandate claim for something along these lines with the state?
Thank you very much for that. That's actually a very, very good question. It is something that we have discussed amongst our staff, that if this project is in fact being required by the state of California to comply with new regulations on the surface, it should meet the requirements of a mandate claim. However, mandate claims can get pretty tricky, and sometimes the state finds ways in which to not fulfill those mandate claims if there's some opportunity that the county could have proceeded some other way. So we will, at that suggestion, certainly go down the path and see what we can do to try to recoup the costs for this unfunded mandate.
Yeah, I know this does not hit our general fund. This is coming through the capital facility fees, but again, as the county's trying to show leadership and do something that we believe the state wants, if if we're going to be the leaders and, we're exposing ourselves, and if other people aren't required to do it. I just don't want to be the only county that's doing this, so just on a go-forward basis. Okay, so with that, any comments on C1? B1. Okay, so I'll take B1, B3, and C2 together.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you very much. Okay, discussion item, which is 6-1, approval to adopt a recommended decision of the nuisance abatement hearing regarding the property at 1347 North Carpenter Road in Modesto. Lane Avila will be presenting.
Good morning, Judge Gaza, board members, and CO Hayes and County Bose. Lane Avila, Stanislaus County Code Enforcement Manager. I have two discussion items this morning regarding the proposed abatement and potential forced cleanup of two longstanding code enforcement cases. Just a little history on these. Both these cases have been active for several years and have involved multiple inspections, notices, and administrative citations. After extensive compliance efforts, the Code Enforcement Division has recently brought these cases before the Nuisance Abatement Hearing Board, or otherwise known as NAB, which recommended that the county proceed with abatement and the responsible parties failed to achieve full compliance within a 90-day period. Since the NAB hearings, some corrective work has been completed, and in some instances, additional violations have occurred on these properties. These changes are why the 90-day compliance period remains appropriate, and I will address those details as I review each cases. The Code Enforcement Division is a complaint-driven program and responds to reports of violations of county code, property maintenance code, health and safety code, building and fire codes, vehicle, business codes, and others. Complaints are received through the Stand Connect app, phone calls, emails, and in-person visit walks. Our goal is to conduct an initial inspection within 10 days and to work directly with property owners to achieve voluntary compliance whenever possible. We prioritize education and communication, offering property owners reasonable time and options to correct these violations. When compliance is not achieved, administrative citations may be issued. If those efforts are unsuccessful, abatement may be considered. Any case proposed for abatement undergoes extensive review by the Department Director, the County Executive Office, and County Council. Factors considered include public health and safety, blight, length of the case, cost, and the level of participation by the property owners. Should the board authorize abatement, additional procedural steps are required, including obtaining contractor bids, securing judicial warrants, and scheduling the work to be completed efficiently and safely. All abatement costs are initially paid from the Code Enforcement Abatement Fund, with costs later recovered through liens in the county standard collection process. Any recovered funds are returned to the abatement fund and to offset staff costs. With that overview, I will now walk you through the cases, including what we have. So the first case we have is 1347 North Carpenter Road. It is what we'll go through here is a timeline process, the case history, some photos of the property, and recommendations and any questions we might have from anyone. So the case was open on 7/19/2022. We did the initial inspection after our warning went out on 8/1. We did a notice in order to abate to say that there was violations that we found. The first compliance inspection was on 10/14. And the first administrative citation was issued on 12/15. And then, of course, the nuisance hearing was conducted 3 years later. The case history, as it goes through the total, we've had a total compliance inspection of 27 inspections. During that, we've had 20 administrative citations issued, with total fines generated citations of $7,500. Here's a outline of the property itself. It's surrounded by the green line. There was an illegal grow in the back of the property at one time, which the complaint came through us. A lot of debris on the property. The houses are vacant at the time. Here's just a further out to kind of show you where the property is. It's one of the pockets the county has. It's surrounded through the city of Modesto. So all the green highlighted areas you see there are within the City of Modesto's jurisdiction. The unhighlighted areas are the county's jurisdiction. Here's a few shots we took from Google to show what the property looks like that was on the outside when we first went out to the complaint that came through our department on Carpenter Road. Just kind of see exactly what all the area was through the streets. This was from our first inspection on 12/7/22. We found the vehicle. People were living inside the vehicle and in the backyards is what the complaint was coming through on the property. Some of the debris we found through the property, and we've seen through some of these pictures. Once again, this is another inspection we did in May of 23, and you can see the items are still there, with people still possibly living in the backyard. A year later, we come on this. The property was secured, but the actual locks wasn't working. You could just walk, the gates would just open right up. So the buildings remained secure, but the property itself wasn't secured for any entries. And here's more of the pictures still continuing 2 years later, the same debris that's in here, and evidence of the hoop houses behind it was still there for the grow, for the illegal grow that occurred in 21. As you can see through the houses and some of the debris that's there, a lot of stuff was not taken care of. The property owner at the time was starting to remove some of the debris from the back of the property, was actually assessing getting the people out, in and out. Sheriff's Department was out there numerous times to move people off the property. At one time, we had a no trespass letter on the property. Those only go for 6 months, and they got to be redone again. And the property owners were not responsible at the time. Recently, when we brought to the NAB, this one, property owners did show up and started saying we're going to do something with the property. And so we were hoping that they were going to start cleaning up. They moved some of the people out of the backyard, were taking a dumpster out, and then some of the stuff came back again. And then as we get here close up, they started showing more establishments. And then 3 weeks after our the NAB hearing we had to go forward with this decision, the property caught on fire. So now we have a massive damaged building is what we have. It's an unsafe building. It's gone beyond repair from the pictures that we're seeing. Fire department went out, took the fire out. There was nobody inside the house. We didn't find anything, but it just was burned. So now this is a new condition we've had since the original cleanup that we were going to propose to go out and do a cleanup. We're going to now send another notice out, a very quick notice upon the approval of the board, to do a demolition of the property since it is in this condition, and then we're going to proceed with a demolition cleanup along with just cleaning up the debris in the backyard. The property owners haven't issued any kind of statement to us whatsoever if they're what they're going to do. We have to wait for insurance company claims now and see if they're going to do it. If the insurance company comes in, they might clean the whole property up, if there is an insurance company at all. So we brought this to the Nuisance Abatement Hearing Board. The case was formally presented to the NAB on December 11th, 2025. NAB approved staff's recommendation and forwarded the matter to the BOS for a hearing scheduled today. This was approved through the NAB board by a 3-0 vote. If adopted, the interested parties to abate the nuisance and return the property to its permitted use as defined in the Stanislaus County Code. Authorize the abatement of the nuisance charge, the cost to the owners. Authorize the disposal of materials removed from the property and charge of the cost of removal of the owner, and to order a lien to be recorded against the property if the owner fails to pay the county for the cost of the abatement. So in closing, staff believes that all reasonable enforcement and compliance options have been exhausted in these cases. Over the years, the county has provided repeated notices, extensions, citations, and direct outreach without achieving sustained compliance. Any abatement costs would be paid from the Code Enforcement Abatement Fund. Will full cost recovery pursued through liens and the county's standard collection processes. Following abatement, the properties will continue to be monitored, and while future violations are possible, that risk has been considered in this recommendation. Although the county does not control property owners, continued enforcement and cost recovery tools often create incentives for compliance or transition to responsible ownership. Receiverships will be considered if the property meets all the requirements by the state. So we're going to have the recommendation we're having is the NAB and staff's recommendations that the Board of Supervisors finds that a nuisance exists at 1347 North Carpenter Road, Modesto, and recommend to move forward for a forced clean. And I'm open for any questions.
Are there any questions?
So no questions, just a couple things. Lane, first, thanks for what you do. It's just amazing, the work you do out there, and Rob and your team. It's so frustrating with these properties, and I know it's very frustrating to you, but as we always say, it's a long process to get to where we are here. And thank God it is, because, you know, like we always talk about, luckily we still have property rights in this country, and you can't just go and take somebody's property as much as we want to, especially in this situation. This property in my district has just been unbelievable. And really, since the fire happened, we think these individuals who were there, who were living on that property, have moved now to other spots in my district, so to take over there. But yet the $7,500 in fines never paid, right?
Correct.
That's never been paid. So we go through this process and try to get these individuals to comply. Again, trying to work as much as we can with them to get them to this, and they just don't. And so, then it leaves us to come to this spot where we are right now. And in this case with this landlord, it's just amazing all the things that we've tried to do and try to get them. And I just don't understand the mindset of somebody who, I mean, that's a valuable piece of property right there.
Correct.
And I just can't figure out that why risk, I mean, even potentially us somehow taking the property if we went that far. But anyway, more than anything, just thank you for what you're doing. I'm sorry you had to deal with this. I'm sorry we have to deal with all these, and another one to come up here after this one, you know, across the county. And but the work you guys do is phenomenal, and I appreciate you doing this. I very much support. This is what we need to do. I wish we could have done it quicker, but again, we have to go through this process, and I wish the individuals who own these properties would be responsive, but they just aren't. So so thank you guys for doing this.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Lane, thank you for your presentation. I'm just looking at the case history, 3 years. Is that a normal amount of time that it takes to do what we're doing today?
It's a standard right now of what's happening. We're going to try to change that and do more abatements with the direction of CO's office and the Board of Supervisors, as long as we get the funding that can go forward on this. Obviously, the cost recovery is the issue. We can spend the money on it. I try to explain it to, we're not property managers. We're not supposed to be out there doing these things. We have to use the citation process, the notice process, tell people to maintain their properties. We have 638 active cases right now that we're working on. And if I came in here with all 638 active cases, we'd be here all day talking at every meeting and trying to get something approved. So our goal isn't to try to clean it up, is to educate and move people forward and try to get to either other property owners, family members, or something else who own the property to come in and help and assist. We're going to try to start using more county services in this case, and actually the cases after this, to see if we can help out in some ways. We've talked to, every part of the county that has these kind of properties, that we can have some access of money to help maybe assist in cleanups or some minor improvements on properties. But yes, this is about the average of right now, and we're hoping to take this average down. We're still getting about an 85% of compliance from these normal cases. They'll close within 3 to 6 months. It's these cases like this that'll go on longer. And as Supervisor Withrow had mentioned, it's just why the property owner is not responding. Why? It's not because of the lack of contact from the county. It's not the lack of trying to get them notices to their addresses to say that this is here if you're out of town, out of state property owners. So we're going to hopefully bring a few more of these to NAB. We had an issue with the state of California with how NAB can be operated. We're currently working on that right now with County Council and the building official, doing some additional training for some of the hearing officers to satisfy the state of California for some of the housing issues that are occurring. Right now, these are just zoning violations we're going after, to say that these are violation of the county zoning code along with some of the health and safety code. So we're hoping that some of these processes we have set up, we're trying to get things set up to the tax treasurer's office, to put things on the tax roll, So hopefully that would get things pushed through quicker also. Once the citation is $7,500, if that can be on a tax roll, then that would move things hopefully quicker. Someone will be technically forced to pay something within a year's time.
My second question was going to be, I would love to hear your recommendations on how to speed this process up, keeping in mind the due process that needs to go through. But I would love to hear further from you.
Yeah, and that's definitely part of the things we're working on. And I've talked with county council. We're trying to move forward on some of the new stuff that's in the state, and actually some actions of actually bringing things to court. Receiverships was a big issue that we can try to use, but there's an issue right now with funding, with a percentage and interest rates out there. We're not finding that banks want to fund properties because they want to have a certain return afterwards. So we're trying to figure out some new ways to get that figured out also. But there's a lot of ways we're trying to get to move this up forward.
Thank you.
Thank you. Doesn't look like there's any other questions or comments. Okay, so now I will acknowledge there are no written comments. I'm going to open up the public comment period. Anyone that wishes to speak, please step forward.
Ryan, a landlord, I've been through this kind of stuff. Some of our people are getting a little older and they can't take care of their properties. They have to go through unlawful detainers. A lot of times they can't even get past that 3 months. Next thing, they're in another 3 months for unlawful detainers. And then people move into the property, so they're doing it again to another person, because this is what we can't stop. It seems like the law doesn't take them in and for trespassing, destruction of property. They don't take it in. So an elderly person gets far beyond that, thinking they're going to hold on to that rental, but they just keep destroying it, bringing more stuff in. And this is what happens. It gets prolonged because of the process they have to go through. Now, if we can shorten that process down, we're going to help that elderly person that maintains that house. So we're going to be helping our landlords. So we're going to be helping the people that own property here. But in one way, we've got to stop this where it just extends on and on. Unlawful detainer, didn't work. They moved their friends in. Now you got to file this one against that person. And it just gets, for older people, it just gets hair raising, and they don't have the money to process this stuff. So sometimes we need to go in and help them save their own property by shortening this time. It's not their fault that they got caught up in it, and that the law will not do anything but go through the process of extending these times for these people. And they're losing money all through it, to the point where one vagrant moves in and burns the place down. And then it becomes an eyesore. So then we just put more burden on them, and they wish they'd probably just run away, but they can't. That's their assets that they're trying to hold on to, which is hard to hold on to assets these days because they want everybody in a condominium. They don't want you or your family to have anything. That's the way the future is going. So let's try to work with the ones that are here and have established something. Let's shorten up that unlawful detainer attitude. But then again, we're going to AI. Maybe we can get rid of the judges and we can just fill the paper out. It'll fill it out for you in a matter of seconds. So this is what we need to do if we want to shorten everything up. Stop extending everything and prolonging it. Let's protect those property owners out there because they are getting older, and they don't like to go through all this stress. You put that stress on them, they're going to die. Is that what you want? Everybody to die earlier because of the stress that's created because we can't shorten that time up and even help them maintain their property? It's a hardship thing. I feel sad for them. Anyway.
Thank you, Brian.
Something to look at.
Yep. Any other comments? Come forward, Ron.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ron McMurtry here. I wanted to follow up a little bit on Supervisor Condit's question. Just two little things, just out of my curiosity. I'm always trying to educate myself. I imagine there's a percentage of properties where the owners, I'm assuming you guys, of course, make a good faith effort to contact owners, but there must be some that just never respond. So I have two questions. Can you give me a rough idea of percentages of when you have that willful ignoring, communication? And if they do that, does this process happen faster? Thank you.
Yeah, it goes through stages on compliance. So as mentioned earlier, some of the cases about 15% will go on over 6 months to a year to 2 or 3 years. Some will go a year without any kind of compliance, and then a family member, someone else will get a hold of us and start acting onto the property, so they'll start up a different process. To make things go faster, we're just trying everything we can. Was mentioned a little bit earlier and stuff, we have a lot of properties that we would have to go out and work on and deal with, so we have to do a priority on some of these. We're gonna have to start setting up some of our top 10 or something like that to start addressing these to get them done, because technically, you know, if a property's going past, you know, 30 days, and a lot of say that we can go in and walk in and start doing abatements, but I don't think we want to turn into an aggressive code enforcement to where we're actually doing abatements for everyone's property. Some jurisdictions that has occurred where we've done faster, quicker abatements, it has turned out to be that once we do that, there's a small percentage that is owned on to come back to the county or to the local jurisdictions. So in other words, interest rates were being charged like at 1% on property owners for late fees on what they owed the county. When they did that, then people realized, well, that's cheaper than a loan I can get from the bank. So I'll go ahead and have the county or the jurisdiction do the abatement for me, clean it up to code, bring it up all the things to permit, and I only have to pay a 1% on my taxes, and I can delay that 5 years. So they learned how to use us as their bank, and we don't want to be that situation. Of course, if any direction comes from Board of Supervisors that they want to speed certain properties up or certain aspects up, we'll be happy to do that.
Any other public comment? Okay, seeing none. I guess I just have one comment, because this is 3 years and 5 months, and when you're the landowner, it's too fast, and when you're the neighbor, it's painstakingly slow. And in this situation specifically, it's dangerous for the neighbor too, right? When they had the fire, and it could have been much worse with all of the refuse that's there. So I think you have struck a balance, and I don't know, about 3 years and 5 months seems like a long time, but trying to push this along quickly, I think most people want to comply. They don't want to get stuck in a situation. So, but this is for sure time to move and time to take action. So with that, any other comments from the board? If not, I'll look for a motion.
Make a motion to approve staff recommendations. Second.
We have a second from Supervisor Graywell. All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And the motion carries 5-0. Thank you very much. Okay, we're going to go on to item 6.2, approval to adopt the recommended decision from the Nuisance Abatement Board regarding the property at 859 North Kenwood Avenue in Turlock. Lane.
Okay, so it'll be the same situation in this property. I'll just go through the case itself on what we have, and unfortunately this is another case that's been open since 22 for some of the same violations that we've seen earlier on the other case. So we'll go through the timeline process, the case history, some photos again, and some recommendations and any questions that you might have. So the complaint was received, code enforcement officer went out to the property, initial inspection is done usually within 10 days. The notice in order to abate the issues is done quickly right after that with all the corrections that need to be done. The compliance inspections and compliance were generally conducted. We give 30 days on that to talk a little more about the process. And in this case, we gave 5 compliance inspections were conducted prior to the issuance of the first administrative citations. So we try to work a lot with the property owner to clean up the property. Administrative citations were issued along the way, and ongoing enforcement as compliance inspections were conducted every 30 days and thereafter, and administrative compliance citations were issued as needed. The case was open on 8/10 of 22. Initial inspection was done 8 days later. We issued the notice and order, and the first administrative citation was issued 5 months later, and then of course we brought it to the board on the same day on 12/11/25. There's been a total of inspections of 30 inspections. These are site inspections outside of anything on phone calls and such. These are all site inspections. There's been 18 citations generated with fines accumulated at $6,700 that have not been paid. Here's the property itself. Once again, that's the surrounding property. Around the area, the highlighted areas, that's actually the shaded areas are city of Turlock. So they're surrounded by city limits of Turlock, and we have a little pocket of the county that's in there. further show the county, you can see what the pocket is. It's very limited in that area. All the highlighted areas, the city of Turlock, and this is completely, the stuff that's not, is the county's jurisdiction. So in this situation here, we've had a lot of response from the city of Turlock to this property. They've sent out Turlock PD, Turlock Fire on these situations for incidents that happen on the property, along with sheriff responding out there also because of jurisdiction. Here's a couple of the pictures of the home. It's next to a commercial properties on the other side of it, an alleyway that they share, and the home that sits right next to the alleyway. This is on Kenwood Avenue, just going down from looking through the other sides of the street, showing that the hedges are on the property. There are low hedges. I want to point that out for what we have, that the height of the hedges is only supposed to be 36 inches tall, so the vehicles can see people walking out of the sidewalks, out of the property. And so here's the pictures that we had when we first went out there on August of 22 with vehicles in the back. There was a RV that was, that you guys can see in the picture, that was occupied. That was some of the issues that the sheriff's department was dealing with, was an occupied RV, people in the backyard, noise ordinances, fights, those kind of things were being issued outside. Vehicle storage that's being put onto the property next to the alleyway. All these pictures are taken from the alleyway right behind where the commercial property is. So a few more pictures of the stuff. This is in 23 when we went out. This inspection here is when we started issuing the citations. 7 months later of issuing 5 notices, and then we're at our second citation. As you see, the violations still remain. During this time, as you see, the seasons are changing, so now we get weeds and stuff that are growing, high grass. This is the issue that some of the people are trying to worry about, fire hazards. The travel trailer was vacated. No one was living inside the travel trailer pretty much around this time, so they did, the owners got that taken care of, but it still remained on the property in that condition, as you can see, as a blighted condition. It obviously wasn't ready for the road or to be used anymore. This is back in still of 24, of September of 24, with all the violations pretty much remaining the same as we just kept going through. Compliance wasn't occurring. In January 23 of 25, this is going back into now, when we brought this in here, this is what the property has looked like in 25 before we took it to the NAB hearing. It still remained the same that was gone through it all. And in August, this is when we took our pictures to go to get ready for NAB. Our posting of the property to say we're doing that. There are some housing issues, some violations we want to look into, but since we cannot go into those with the NAB yet to have that approved by the board until we have that training I mentioned in the first case, we have to just look at the outside. One of the reasons why we delayed on this one, because we wanted to address everything with the property and stuff. Since we're not doing that, we've adjusted ourselves to just go out and do the abatement of the nuisance instead of the housing and property issues that may or may not be at the property with the proper inspection. And these pictures were done just a few days ago. So the property owner has, after the NAB meeting, the property owner has hired a few people or had some people come out and they're starting to clean the property up. So this is one of the adjustments that we talked about. So it took 3 years until he started finally working on it. We went to the NAB, went to the process. We were going to do an abatement. The owner came to the abatement, nuisance abatement hearing board, said to try to work on it and do as best as she can. And contacted my office, where we went out on Saturday on his scheduled day to take a look at this. And there is progress that's actually happening on this property. The trailer's been removed and some of the debris has been removed, but we still have some of the vehicles that are being stored off, trying to put a makeshift fence around it. And those are the hedges in the front yard that was supposed to be 36 inches tall. They're still like 8 feet tall. You can't even see the house. So this is from the alleyway. So when you pull out of the alleyway, you can't see any oncoming traffic. That's been an issue that's been brought up at the last NAB meeting also by one of the people inside the commercial building that was next door. They're saying when we try to drive in and out, we can't see anyone coming down the street. And when vehicles actually park right there when on business days, this is a Saturday, so obviously there's no business going on Saturday. That also extends out the non-view from that site. So the bushes need to be cut down to standard height. So the nuisance abatement hearing board, the case was formally presented to NAB on December 11th. NAB approved staff's recommendation and forwarded the matter to BOS for the hearing today, and it was approved on a 3-0 vote. If adopted, the order is interested parties to abate the nuisance and return the property to use as defined in Stanislaus County Code. We authorize the abatement of the nuisance and charge the cost to the owners, or we can authorize the disposal of materials removed from the property and charge the cost of removal to the owner. And we can order a lien to be recorded against the property if the owner fails to pay the county for the cost of the abatement. So the recommendation is that the NAB and staff's recommendation that the Board of Supervisors finds that this nuisance exists at 859 North Kenwood Avenue, Turlock, and recommend to move forward for a forced clean. So, do we have any questions?
So if it was a 10 that needed to be abated, how much work was done there? We only see this through pictures.
That the property owner's done recently?
Yeah,
They've probably done maybe 60% cleanup.
okay.
So more than I thought, what
Okay.
was off through there.
So I think because we want compliance, right? That's all we ever ask for in nuisance abatement. And for 3 years, more than 3 years, the same thing, nothing was done. And then nuisance abatement has actually changed the potential outcome. So I look forward to hearing. I think I have 2 speaker cards, so I'm assuming the owner is here to speak. But that's a positive sign, right? I think
Yeah.
it starts as a positive sign.
Correct, and like I stated before in the other case, with this coming through, we have 90 days from your decision. So if we follow through with this and then the owner does correct the violations within 90 days, obviously abatement will not go through. But if something fails to happen within 90 days, then we'd have to come back to the whole process and start over again. So we try to tell everyone that this is what 90 days is for. We're trying to set it in here. We can set that at a 15-day or earlier if needed by what direction of the Board of Supervisors. But in this situation, we kind of feel we can give them time. If we see progress like this is what we look for.
Yep.
We look for this the first year.
I want to ask the question of County Council. Can we continue this for 30 days? That actually, does that affect their 90-day, beyond the 30 days, does that affect their 90-day timeline?
I think there's several ways that you could handle this if you wanted. You could give them more than 90 days, give the staff more than 90 days to clean up, or alternatively, you could bring this matter back, depending on when you wanted to do that. But I would set a date certain so that staff do not have to renotice and provide all that notice. Just set a date certain and say, okay, come back and we'll do this hearing again.
But by law, if we gave them 120 days, is that legal, or is it 90 days that's the legal requirement? Do you know?
I believe we can give them additional time.
I'm just asking.
Yeah.
Because it seems like the hammer has been held over their head and there's progress, but that's all we wanted to see. But I don't want to affect, because it's still 3.5 years almost. Okay, any questions, board members? Okay. So I'm going to acknowledge there are no written comments on this. We're going to go to public comment. I do have 2 speaker cards. And the first one is Emily Winky, I believe. Good morning, Emily.
Good morning. Good morning to the board, and I am emotional. My name is Emily Wanke, and I'm here to read this first, but I can answer a lot of those questions. Basically, a lot has to do with the actual codes, and you can pass this around if you want. These are the corrective actions required. We believe we accomplished those. The overview of the property in the beginning, and I will address the fact that there was misunderstanding, misinterpretation of the land use. I don't know if you get to see these or not. And then I also have photos from the compliance meeting on Friday, you probably really do want to see these because you can see them from all over the place, not just that one view. And I happen to be the one that after all this time, it's very, very hard to find somebody to tow a fifth wheel. I had a friend of Francisco's towing company in Turlock. He called a friend, and eventually we found a way to have that abandoned on her property fifth wheel. It was not hers. It was by a person that was there that also left all of that garbage, and that's why it seems like nothing is getting done. But this will show you. And the idea of the forced cleanup needs to be related to injurious, indecent, obstructing community enjoyment. It has to be severe, hazardous, pest infestation, unsanitary. I have never seen anything noticed on the property or identified or in the concise descriptions. There are none.
Emily, sorry, can I just ask, how are you related to the property? Tell me what's your
I
connection
am
to the property.
I'm a friend. I was
Just a friend of the owners?
Yes, I was homeless and she helped me. I now own a property and I'm learning all these things. I do appreciate the education that I got on my own. There was not education from, I don't even know who these people are. You cannot find the website with the environmental resources. The website has a report from 2019 and it has some pictures of some forest cleanup, which looks like cut and clear, like is out of date and not legal anymore.
Emily, sorry, so just a friend of the owner and the owner, Cabrini Herrera?
Yes.
She's next up on the speaker.
Okay, sorry.
Yes,
Okay.
she's here. And
Very
I'm
good.
also, just for anybody, I would stand up here for anybody that is going to become homeless because it's not done timely, or there's an error. All this talk about, let me just do this part so I can do my 5 minutes and be done. I need my glasses, sorry. I did want to say that I appreciate the process. I am a retired middle school teacher. I've been the president of the Sunnyvale School Union and have had to, do contract negotiation, positional and interest-based and all these things. I'm a U.S. Air Force veteran where they came up with standards in the first place. That's where all these standards came from. I'm trying to get to my document. I'm sorry. But I have actually spent 50 hours since the 28th when my friend contacted me about the December 11th meeting and was shocked with how far things have gotten, even though it's been 3 years. Have you ever had construction done on your property? Does it take a long time? A lot more? They're supposed to be done on this date, but they're not. Kind of standard for deadlines to be surpassed. Pardon me. Emily Wanke, I'm here today for a prophylactic intervention. Generally, prophylactics are associated with condoms and preventing disease. It also means to watch before, to stop before bad things happen. That's what I want to do, to stop a bad thing from happening. Wanting to comply and prevent forced cleanup, they only requested an inspection Saturday. In our opinion, compliance was achieved. To our surprise, we were told to do additional actions, some that he mentioned today. I don't believe it's possible to comply. To that end, we need support to clarify where the process is breaking down. We are in the dark. It is no one's best interest to force cleanup 859 Kenwood Avenue. It might be a crime. The tall grass and vegetation berms are part of TID's groundwater recharge program. Flood irrigation is used. This recharges the well. Sorry, that must be my time. The U.S. Department of Energy explains the techniques. Upland and treatment of the irrigated area is necessary for successful recharging of the groundwater. Groundwater is the only source of water for this property. Forced cleanup would not only destroy the water conservation currently used, but forced cleanup would cause erosion, evaporation, and runoff. All three are preventable. Runoff would pollute our streams, rivers, and lakes. Another concern is the irrigation pipe and valve on the property. An easement, it is not an alley, it's an easement, exists along the south side of the property. The valve is on the southwest corner where the alley, there is an alley, meets the easement. The pipe is not able to uphold the heavy equipment. It could even be dangerous as the unknowing driver could fall into the hole where the valve handle is located. It is in everyone's best interest to pause the consent vote on this item to ensure due process and due diligence regarding the oral and documentary evidence presented December 11th. The owner has requested access to the evidence twice, the last time being Saturday, when I asked the code enforcer if the video was available. He said no, he didn't think so. I tried to access the nuisance abate board hearing board and couldn't find it. The Department of Environmental Resources site had information from 2019, not current. However, there were photos of forced cleanup. I also have photos of the inspection the same day. I asked him, how did we do? He shrugged slightly, saying he wasn't going to be here today, and basically it was just a matter of formality. His part was completed. Compliance didn't matter, time was up. The property was going to be forced cleanup. Before this goes any farther, there needs to be another look. The owner has requested a list of interested parties and the evidence from the December 11th Nuisance Abatement Board hearing. Access has yet been available. The recommendation decision has false documents saying in item 4, refusing to correct violations when there has been continuous effort which the owner can show with documentation and public records. And finally, looking at these photos taken on Saturday, does the property look like it has serious public hazards to the extent that it needs to be forced cleaned up and that those actions will render the owner homeless? I don't think so. I beg you to pause the vote. The owner wasn't informed of this meeting. All there was at the bottom of the page, of page 2 of 2, of that one, the last one she received, a postscript referring to January 13th, 2026. No time, no location was included. No mention of it being Tuesday versus Thursday. No cover letter explaining what the notice meant. So please prevent an undoable action, unclarification, that clarification, sorry, I need a drink. Actually, I do need a drink. Until clarification can be accomplished. I beg you, using the Rotarian four-way test. There wasn't education. Those things did not exist. There wasn't any compassion. It's a list of photos. In fact, even looking on that photo, most of the property is clear. There's just a spot where the cars are, which were parked there when their parents died, and they're still there in their memory. They're fully intact. And where the fifth wheel was, he did not even take a picture of the general area standing from the easement into the yard. The majority of it I have is all clean.
Emily, can I ask you a question? You referred to a irrigation gate. Are you saying that they flood irrigate that property?
Yes, it's the only water the property has, and the groundwater recharge is necessary to recharge the well, not only to do all that other good land stuff for almonds and walnuts, you know.
So they just flood the ground to recharge. That's, you're telling me they order water, right?
Yes.
From TID, okay.
And the vegetation, the vegetation that was shown, that's part of the berm. In order for irrigated water to actually recharge the ground, the water must be quickly put onto the property, and it must be at it has to be at a certain depth for this to work right. And that's what the upland is where you have the berms, the tall grasses, and I don't know what other features. I've only learned this in the last week. And then the treatment is any water that is flowing off of the property has to be mended. And that's what's happening along the easement where you see the vegetation, and actually in the front. And the front of the property extends 5 feet further into the street than anywhere else on the rest of the street. So where the people are parking and complaining about the hedge, that's because her property is 5 feet further. It's 60 feet wide. The street is on this side, 55 feet, 60 feet. It's just a lot of, I don't know what to call it, but lack of knowledge of the land use of the property. So that's what I'd like to find out, to clarify. And the hedge is 5 feet further out. Is there any knowledge of that when they're talking about what it needs to be done? I don't know.
Okay, appreciate your time. Any questions, any comments? No.
Just one. Okay. Emily, did you intend to have the board review those documents?
Yes, please, well, just see these.
Let's just hold them there, and then then
Okay.
just leave them there and we'll deal with them
Okay.
in a minute.
I'll take a picture of them and then you can have them.
Well,
Or I guess you don't need more stuff.
we'll just have the board review them.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, next up, Cabrini Herrera.
Hello, this is my property, you're all talking about like it's
Can you
nothing.
pull the mic down? Cabrini, could you pull, yeah. Thank you much.
Ouch, this is right in my face. Hello, my name is Sabrina Herrera. You're talking about my property, sometimes I like it doesn't exist, it's just not up to date. Code,
Cabrini, can you speak right into that mic? We can't hear you, I'm sorry.
it's right,
No, it's okay, just
it's uncomfortable for me to speak like it's in my mouth. Is that better?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's much better, thank you.
Sabrina Herrera. You know me now. That's a little bit better.
Right.
Thank you. This whole thing is very stressful. The part with the trailer, that person, I allowed him my property to clean up, help me clean up the property. It went bad, so I had to evict him. And the eviction process took so long, so complicated, because there's no forms on how to do it. It's just a lot of wording that I'm not familiar with, legal terms that have different meanings. I finally got through this process. Then he destroyed it. And calling people to remove it was disappointing because you have hope that this person you call can remove it. No, we cannot do it for a certain amount of money. I'm very low income. I cannot be spending more money on that situation that I didn't start. He left all the garbage there for me to clean up. I cleaned up a few cans of it. Continually, May, I cleaned more. This May. But getting hurt from it kept me from doing as much as I wanted to because I hurt my back and my legs. It didn't matter. I did it.
Cabrini, can I ask you real quick, you live on the property, is that correct, or you don't?
Of course, I live on the property. It's my property, where I live.
Just that, thank you.
It doesn't make sense. Yes. Anything else?
No, keep going, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah, I lost my train of thought. Okay. Like you said before, things need to move faster on the evictions because this guy's cost me money on my property. Because the citations were coming in, I had to go to the eviction. I couldn't pay citations as much as when money could go there. It had to go to the eviction to get him off my property. And having more people on my property because he was just one person, he had a friend with him that caused more trouble, caused the police because they were fighting and arguing, and they turned around and started assaulting me with things, because there's two of them, to get off my property. All I wanted them is to leave. Just get your stuff and get off my property. Things would be better. No, that did not happen. So he put me in a bind because he knew I had the violations for the citations because the trailer's there. Because he saw Stasi. He talked to Stasi at my property. At his office the first time was in August or September. I think it was August. Then he came to the property in September. He talked to Stasi then. And then he talked to him in April the next year when I was going to the eviction. And he saw that how much the citations were going up. He just continued to give me more problems. I was in the process of writing a history of my property, how it's been in my family since my uncle, George, from the Navy, got a GI grant and purchased it, and then gave it on his death. He gave it to his parents. And from there, it turned on to my mother and me. So it's 4 generations property. It's not just any property. And some of this stuff is accumulated from years and years of stuff. It's old tire wheels, wagon wheels, actually there are a couple in there. Milk cans from the goats. We raised goats on that place. There's farm equipment, there's truck equipment, which I moved some of that recently. I'm surprised I found some big old tools. I didn't know what they were, but they were for farm trucks, someone told me. There's a lot of historical stuff on my property that I haven't discovered because I don't go back there. I don't mess with it as much. I look at it and go, okay, those are my grandparents' days. But to come in and say, I don't try to do anything, I do stuff. I did stuff in September 2 years ago, 24. I did recyclables, the hottest year in record in Stanislaus County. Did recyclables. Almost passed out, got bug bites on me. Had to go to the doctor because Stasi was coming in September for inspection. So I moved all the recyclables and almost heat stroke. I do things to extend. When I'm cleaning, I do extensions. I just keep doing it until I'm done. And then I don't do anything anymore because I have to recover. Then I tackle it again. But that's just me, usually. I borrow my neighbor's garbage can to fill hers up and to fill mine up, to comply. It's difficult when you don't have funds. I've asked Stasi Saturday, is there any way I can get Stanislaus to help me with a dumpster or something to contain the stuff so I don't have to be using these small garbage cans to fill, to get my property in compliance. He said there's nothing available. But he talked about something, a program or something. Well, you know, I could be an example of that program where you help the owner comply and not put more burden on the person as financially. I'm out of breath. I asked for some time to do I was doing a declaration form. I got halfway through it and passed out because I was exhausted. Didn't get to finish it, to submit to you guys. I truly ask you to have a heart or have compassion for a person who, how to say this, who very much tries to comply, but not as fast as my neighbors want. And my neighbors are more of a problem for me because my property is a county property, like the parking in the front. I've told them this time and time again. This is a county property. It lines up to my neighbor's property next door to me. That whole thing lines up 5 feet further where my hedges are. It is county property. It extends into the road. It's not city like theirs. And when there's a city, they park right there on the side, on this side, not. And you still can't see when there's a vehicle parked there. You got to come out in the driveway to see which way you're going to go. It's normal if you live there, you're coming out that driveway. Because the properties are uneven. Sorry. And my neighbors are constantly agitating, talking badly about me, verbally, and actually this Friday, a good example. Mike came out in the middle of the alley, middle of the driveway in the alley in the front, because the trailer was parked on this side of the property. He confronted me about it with all the police department there. Said, "What's your intentions?" I looked at him. "I have no intentions. I'm tying my shoe." That's what I was doing. But I didn't say that. I just was doing that act of tying my shoe. He comes at me really verbally mad. I go, "I have no intentions." I left and I went in my house. He's constantly starting to antagonize me for some reason, to give a show. For what purpose? for some legal purpose later? That's what I'm thinking. So when I speak, it's like censor myself, speak. See where that red vehicle is? In that picture? Well, that's where, in that area, that's where I was tying my shoe. And he compressed me in the middle of Kenwood, sorry. With all the police department there watching me. City police. I mean, there must have been 4 on my side of the property, 3 on this side where the red vehicle is, and I don't know how many on this side. It was overkill for that many people to come and move a trailer. It was ridiculous. Money spent like that for people just standing there drinking coffee and talking gossip, their own gossip, but, you know, they could do more. They don't need to be there. Are there any questions?
Any questions of Cabrini? Was it Cabrini or Cabrina?
That's the only question you have. Okay, Cabrina, C-A-B-R, Cabrina.
Okay.
You can pronounce it different ways. I've got used to it before.
Okay.
Familiar with it.
Seeing no questions? Thank you very much.
I have one quick thing.
You had your opportunity to speak already. Sorry about that.
She states that the tin that's on the property is for the irrigation.
Oh, okay, I forgot.
Disposed.
I understand about the irrigation. She didn't clarify the irrigation. The tin in the back, the big pieces of 12-foot tin, are for the irrigation. I put those in like a trough, a ditch, so the water doesn't go into my neighbor's yard on that new fencing back there. Those are put there, they're supposed to go back there, but the person who took the fence out did not put them back where they belonged to keep the water from going into his yard when I irrigate. I haven't irrigated because the trailer's there, so it's been a couple years. And it's cost me to have the irrigation on my property so the well will, like she says, generate the water and hold the water in there. On the berm she's talking about is a berm for the water doesn't go out in the alley because then City of Turlock calls because there's water going out down the alley, down towards Mitchell or down Kenwood in the summertime. And they say, we have to turn on our pumps. It won't make it down to Canal before you got to turn on the pump. It's too hot. It's just vaporize, you know, before it gets down there. But that's what they tell me. So I make up the dirt, push it up there, so the water is contained in my yard.
So I guess.
And these people have seen that in action. The neighbors have seen me in action when I did that.
Okay.
It's in the past, but they've seen it.
So just, Ms. Herrera, I just wanted to make sure I understand. As far as you're concerned, it was really this tenant, this person that you were leasing to, that really caused all these issues on your property, and just the process of you trying to get them out of there, then to get it cleaned up is kind of what caused this three-year delay or so. Am I understanding that right?
Pretty much, yes, because when you're dealing with 2 people that are uncooperative and verbally abusive to you, and not helping you, just causing you more problems.
The tenant you're
and you
talking
can't get
about.
them out, and you're living with them in your property. You see them every time you walk out the door. It's very difficult not to do something illegal to them.
Okay.
Yeah.
And for the rest of the board, this is Kenwood Island, which is on our ARPA list for.
And then you get the sheriffs out there, and it's like, they have no comment. We can't do anything about it. You got to evict them. That's what because that's the only thing they say. You have to evict them. Go through the process. Get them out.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So Lane, what are the things on the list that haven't been cleaned or that remain on your list?
Still the miscellaneous items that are out there. Some of the recycling stuff has been gone, so the weeds that need to be taken care of. There's still some debris that's out there. What the sheet metal is for, it's roofing materials and stuff. I don't know what that is indications for, what's being used on it. Could require a permit, whatever they're trying to do, if they're trying to divert something. So when the inspector did an inspection just Saturday when he was out there, he said there was a lot of stuff that's still miscellaneous stuff needs to be done. A dumpster, you know, or 2 dumpster loads could take care of that itself, you know, and of course, as you see the grass and stuff there, would need to be maintained and cut down, to take care of. There's a detached garage that's on the property. We have a lot of pictures. I wouldn't go through all the pictures that we've taken on this, but detached garage is in a bad condition, and the house itself has some issues that we're concerned about for someone occupying the house that will come later on. If we're trying to get all the services to help out as much as we can, but you know, property owner has to take care of the property, and if they can't take care of that, we're going to continue on with it. The vehicles, we're asking that the vehicles to be maintained on the property as is. You know, if we have to, if we get closer inspection of them, to say that that'd be removed, that would be something different. But I think we can work with them with the vehicles as long as the rest of the property is maintained.
Okay. All right, I'll continue the public comment period. Bianca.
Good morning, Board. Bianca Lopez. I don't know the history, but I do want to learn more about what the Departments of Environmental Resources role is for community education and awareness about that. You know, I heard the two people who came up to the mic before me mentioned compassion or lack of compassion and education. And I can agree with that in other areas of the county and cities and other jurisdictions. I will attest that your website is not user-friendly and information is not updated. So if people are tasked with educating themselves and using your resources that isn't very resourceful, that doesn't really help. But I'd like to learn what the Department of Environmental Resources has provided to the landowner for education and accessing resources that might assist the owner. It does seem like there are some resources that are out there. You know, some organizations, nonprofits pick up vehicles that are abandoned, that no longer work, that can be picked up. I don't know that that's listed on your website. So I'm just really curious about the education piece of the department. I mean, and then like, I don't know, it seems also like we're nitpicking at little things, overgrown grass, weeds. Do you go tell farmers that too? Okay. I mean, it just seems like a minor thing, and we should probably choose our battles for things that are actually a nuisance in the community. This is one of the problems when we have pocket islands where one community, one side of the road has been maintained and taken care of, and another is county, and it lacks resources and has, you know, been left behind. But I'd like to learn more about the educational piece that the department is responsible for, or may have claimed to share, and then also what is documented that they shared with the individual is also important.
Thank you.
To go over that a little quickly on that, we did issue a notice and order, and we have notice of violations also. When we do the inspections, we try to contact the owner over there. We did go 5 months before we issued any kind of a citation, so we're out there every 30 days trying to make contact with the owner, knocking on the doors, asking if someone can help. They need help. We move forward on that to say this is what we ask to be done, the violations that are out there, and how we have to correct them. As for services, there are services that we try to include to have other jurisdictions would call the county. And with us being in a county, we call other people in the county to come out and do something. We offer those services, BHRS, if they need some help in those. We don't have a lot of programs for that to set up in the county. It's something I've been looking into to set up a lot of stuff to see if we can, as I mentioned earlier, to see if we can set some things, monies aside to do assistance somehow. But it's not in code enforcement's department or Department of Environmental Resources to do those things on there. So we've talked months and months before we got to a point of actually issuing a citation to say we need to get this taken care of. If they don't contact us, you know, we leave our cards, our business cards. We try to make contact at the doors, and it's up to them to try to contact us and find out why we're out there.
So, yeah. Notification and citations is not education or assistance with resources. And your website really needs to get fixed.
Thank you very much, Bianca. Anyone else for public comment? Come on up, Ron.
Thank you once again, Mr. Chairman, and Ron McMurtry again. Yeah, I noticed we have a little situation that maybe we can start making this go smoothly, the education side of it, and I'm very interested in that. It's interesting what was brought up. On the one hand, it is possible to have the relevant department, so I don't know what the name of the department, I guess they can do the cleanup. And that they would, I understand they charge something to the property taxes, and that real savvy landowners might use that as a quote, as he said, quote, bank, and we don't want that because that probably is not fair market value for the services. But on the other hand, as you can see, we do have probably poor property owners that don't have the resources if they wanted to hire someone to get someone to do that. So I would like to suggest that maybe we have a program for the relevant department that can, and they can say, hey, we can clean it up for you, and let them know the terms, let them know that's an option, so they don't have to slave away and try to make a million phone calls because they don't have connections with the. And if you look at the kinds of things that has to be done, not only vehicles, removing vehicles, but the remover of debris, of course, and then shrubs, and that's just that's going to be different subcontractors. All these subcontractors that the department is more likely to have available at their fingertips. So I'd like to recommend maybe some kind of whatever, I don't know if it has to be an ordinance, but something where you can offer that as a service to landowners that we want to comply but don't have a lot of resources. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. Anyone else? Okay. Okay, so maybe give us a moment. We're going to bring these documents up. Let us each look at the documents.
Got another question for Lane.
Yeah, go ahead right now. Be great.
Lane, just if we go through the process, end up going through the process here today with this particular agenda item, they still have the opportunity within those 90 days to clean the property. And if there doesn't need to be any action, then none's taken, correct?
Correct. Yeah. With any case that happens when we move out there. We've actually had situations where we've issued citations for someone, gave them 30 days to correct it. If they correct it within that 30 days, we've actually reversed that last citation because they're in the process of taking care of things. We're not here to put monetary citations on anyone. Division doesn't get those citations back to us. We don't, encourage that. We encourage people to clean properties up as we talk to them and work with them.
Correct. Thank you.
Yeah, the public comment period, I'm sorry, I didn't hear. The public comment period is closed.
Lane, just going through that document there, I noticed you would make notes such as removal, weeds, things like that. Do we give the proper measurements of like, hey, the brushes need to be here and there? Do we give those type of specifics?
Yeah, they'll say how tall they have to be, correct.
Okay.
And of course, any dead vegetation, of course, that right now it's not dead vegetation's out there because of the seasons. But through the season there is dead vegetation, which is fire hazard.
Okay, everyone's had an opportunity to see. Any more questions of staff and/or? So I would tell you that because this is slated to go out to bid and we're going to do sidewalks and some drainage here and bring it up to standard, hoping that the city has the ability to, or will, annex it, which would be best served for the residents of the Kenwood Island, Kenwood Mitchell area. It's fairly exciting. I would tell you, because I'm always about compliance. I want you to know that it's about compliance. And for a few years, there was no compliance. I think that's pretty simple. I've been by there many, many times in my life. The city of Turlock has had issue with it. The neighbors obviously have issue with it. But we started the process, and I know that Lane and his staff have been continuing to do it. The fact that there has been progress is different than the last parcel for me, and substantial progress. I think there's a disagreement and with how much more progress needs to be done, but I know there's more progress that needs to be done based on the way we interpret things. But because of the fact that they've actually stepped up and removed the mobile home or the fifth wheel, along with picking up the trash, I would like to see, I would make the recommendation that we put this off to a date certain, 30 days more or less, on a board meeting, and see if there's more progress. If there's not, I think that will seal it for me. But because you had told me that 60% of it has been cleaned, that's all I want. I want compliance. And it seems like they're working towards compliance. It doesn't overburden them with cost in one fell swoop where they have to do something quickly. This gives them a little more time for potentially for garbage cans. That's something. But again, if in 30 days you come back and you report that there has been no progress, then I'll probably change my position and my thought process. 30 days is
About February 17th or February 10th. I think
February 17th. Okay.
Just to note, I'm looking at our meeting calendar, and our February meetings are on the 3rd and the 24th. We do not have a meeting on the 10th or the 17th. So you would need to pick one of those two dates.
So I would go to the 24th. That's what I would recommend, but I look forward to any other comments. Again, I don't want to hamstring you, but I think this is a fair assessment of what we got. Any other thoughts? Okay.
An appropriate motion would be to continue the item to February 24th, 2026.
Yeah, and I just reinforce that, yeah, if nothing has happened by that meeting, then we're done. Yeah, and I appreciate all the efforts that you guys have done, and now to push this off, I know it's frustrating, and there has been so many opportunities here, but I think that's one last opportunity. There's no harm in that.
All right. Is that in the maker of the motion? Is that a motion?
That's a motion.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have a second. First and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Lane. Thanks, Rob. Okay, move on to item 7, correspondence. Acknowledge receipt of correspondence and refer as recommended on the agenda.
Bianca wants to speak on item, correspondence item.
Okay. Correspondence number 1, we have a request. Bianca Lopez. And this is regarding the board has received a letter from the Riverdale Park Track Community Services District regarding chemicals in their water system exceeding the notification levels.
That's correct. Good morning again. I've seen the River Park Track and notices about water contamination being at notification for quite some time. It's also listed in the letter. I'd like to just learn or understand, do the residents continue to drink this contaminated water? Is that the expectation? And then are they required to notify the residents right away or just during their consumer confidence report at the yearly marks? I'm very interested in long-term plans. This community has been drinking contaminated water for a very long time, or at least using it. And I'm not sure if they're getting bottled water. What is the Department of Environmental Resources role and the next step? So they're notified, and then what happens next?
So can I, Bianca, really quick?
Yeah.
Good questions, and questions that we've been asking for a long time out there. So we're in the process. First thing, we are part of our ARPA funds. This is in my district, and all of the money that I was allocated is going towards putting curbs, gutters, sidewalks, sewer, and water out there in that area, which, as you know, is like a third world country out there right now. So we're in the process of that. There is a line from the city of Modesto that's sitting right there now that will bring city water to that area. We're doing everything we can to make that happen. Self-Help Enterprises is working with that. I actually texted Juan Cano, I think is his name. Juan Cano is the individual who's helping us with self-help. I texted him last night. Said, where are we on this? It's just been going back and forth. And Tommy, I know you guys have been working on it with the city of Modesto. And I don't know, Tom, if you have any update on where that stands at this point?
Unfortunately, I do not.
Okay, but there is a grand plan that is going to replace their whole water system out there and their sewer system. And so, anyway, we are in the process of that. This has happened constantly where the water will go bad. We treat the well, it comes back, but it's not a solution, and we know that. But we have a solution, and we are very close to getting there and to making this happen. It's never fast enough. It's been a nightmare for us just trying to get to this thing, but we were just so close to making this happen, and the water is the first thing that's going to happen.
Okay, that sounds like like there is a long-term plan being developed. And so what happens now that the Department of Environmental Resources has been notified of the levels of beyond notification, but they're like in between notification and like a response level? So what's between notification and response?
I think usually when we find out that the levels aren't there, we get out there and we treat the wells, is what has happened in the past. And I'll talk with Rob and see where we are in that. But yeah, there's tests constantly going on out there. You know, it's across the street from the old Bonzi dump. It's just a nightmare spot. Hence, that's why we're going to fix this. But as these levels change and become where they're out of compliance, as far as then we get out there, or somebody gets out there and works on it. brings it back into compliance. But it's, again, it's just a temporary fix. The permanent fix is coming.
You mentioned self-help enterprises, so I'm guessing that they are receiving bottled water for drinking?
I can't answer that. I'm not sure.
Okay.
I think they have in the past, but I can't tell you what they're doing right now.
Okay. This is just an important topic, especially for the people that live at River Park Track. This contamination affects your liver, thyroid, reproductive toxicity, cancer, immunotoxicity. These are serious and severe health consequences. And so making sure that the community is notified of those health effects of poor drinking water or access to good drinking water is really important. So do they get notified right away as well?
Yeah, I just don't know the process.
I'm sure the Community Service District. Yeah.
Yeah.
So talk to the Community Service District? Okay.
Yeah, they have their own officials. I'm on an elected board out there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, but we're working on it. We're almost there.
Sounds.
Thank you very much, Bianca. Okay, we're going to move on to, I know, but item 8, I'm squinting. Took off my glasses. Any Board of Supervisor reports? Man, I love it. On to item 9, Legislative Fiscal Management Report.
Okay, a few items to update you on. Number one, I think everyone saw that the governor did release the preliminary budget for fiscal years 26-27 late last week, and of course we're going through to look for any impacts to counties. There were a few items that CSAC had called out on behalf of counties throughout the state. The 3 items specifically that we saw them call out were the lack of support for impacts from the federal impacts of what we call HR 1, mainly on the Medi-Cal population. So that continues to be a significant point of conversation between counties in the state of California. Another was the low level of support for implementation of Prop 36 that was specifically called out by CSAC representatives as a concern in the current budget, as well as some reductions in IHSS funding that were unclear as to potential impacts to counties. So I just want to note that those were the 3 things that CSAC had called out in this preliminary budget proposal from the governor. Of course, this is just the starting point for budget negotiations through the year, and I think in most of the responses from the governor's office you saw that they would point to a more refined budget in May. Most of the headlines did revolve around what the assumptions were in the governor's budget compared to those of the legislative analyst's office, and that the governor's budget had much more revenue assumed than the legislative analyst's office. So I'm sure there'll be more conversation and reconciliation of the differences between those 2 projections, but they were significant. Also want to recognize that just this last week there was an effort to freeze federal funding related to child care and family assistance funds affecting California and 4 other states. This also got a lot of headlines. There is a multi-state lawsuit challenging this action as unlawful, and a federal judge has already temporarily blocked this freeze with, while litigation proceeds, so we'll track that issue as well. It's unfortunately we have to mention again that we are facing the potential for another federal government shutdown at the end of this month, unless additional continuing resolutions are resolved at the federal level. So that's getting a lot of headlines. Hopefully that does not carry on as we experienced last fall. Just a couple of other announcements. Want to announce that our Stanislaus Animal Services Agency is hosting a strategic planning workshop tomorrow at 9 a.m. at the Ceres Community Center. Public is welcome to attend and provide public comment. You can visit StanislausAnimalServices.com to review the posted agenda. I also want to announce that we're excited and the public is invited to join us tomorrow at 2 p.m. at the 1500 block of Eureka Street in Modesto for the Bret Hart Infrastructure Improvements groundbreaking ceremony. This is another one of those ARPA-funded projects, improvements in the community. Very, very excited to get out there for that groundbreaking ceremony. And then the last announcement is that this Friday is the deadline to volunteer for our annual homeless point in time count scheduled for the morning of January 29th. We have a registration link and more details available on our homepage at stancounty.com. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, nothing else for the good of the order. This meeting is adjourned. We do have a closed session.
Yes, we had a closed session this morning. We have two items. The first is a conference with labor negotiators pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.6. The agency negotiators are listed in the agenda, as are the labor organizations. The second item is existing litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9, subdivision D1. One case, Beard et al. Versus County of Stanislaus et al. That's in the U.S. District Court, Eastern District, and the case number is 121CV00841. Appropriate for public comment.
And go out for public comment. Any public comment? All right, we're going to adjourn to closed session.